age, it's harder to build bone density with calcium alone. Introducing Citrical Plus Bone Density Builder, the only calcium supplement with genistein, found naturally in soy and proven to significantly build bone density. Citrical.
Call you then. Bye.
Devin?
Cindy, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I'll say. Got the whole Verizon Wireless Network. Mr. Fear of Commitment. That's weird.
Well, they came with my pay-as-you-go plan, so I only pay for them when I use them.
So you haven't changed at all?
No.
Buy long-term contracts. Hello, America's largest calling pen. Get unlimited talk to more people, use 0 minutes. Plus, get this Samsung for just $19.99 at select retailers and Verizon Wireless.
We have recycling plans that fit the biggest companies and programs that help others get started. We're there for you every night and on the job with you every day. When you put waste management to work, you get an environmental partner. And big ideas for every size business. From everyday collection to environmental protection. Think green. Think waste management. If you love spring, you'll love a Subaru. With its versatility and symmetrical all-wheel drive, it's built to help you make the most of the season. So come to the Subaru Love Spring event. Get a Subaru and go love spring.
Lease the 2009 Impreza 2.5i for $179 per month. Now through March 31st.
If you have diabetes, Freestyle can help set you free of its burdens. Freestyle light meters never need coding, so they're easy to use. And they require the world's smallest blood sample. Plus now, there's the Freestyle Promise program with information from live certified diabetes educators, support with insurance, and savings on test strip copays. Because if you make living with diabetes easier, you can just be you. Restrictions apply. See our website for details.
Over 40 million people suffer from sleep problems. If you have a problem sleeping or if you're taking
After the Army, he began to live the principles and the values that his friends and his family had taught him: courage, hard work, and honesty. The night after my birthday in 2004, February 11th, Sergeant Tanish's unit was ambushed outside of Baghdad. An IED exploded and insurgents were firing RPGs. When the attack was over, Patrick told his commanding officer that he took shrapnel from the original IED and he collapsed in the arms of his commander and died. But before he died, he unloaded 400 to 500 rounds at the enemy. Doctors say it's impossible because the shrapnel hit Tanish right in the throat. He shouldn't have been able to take another breath, let alone fire another 500 shots. But because of the man he became, Sergeant Tanish didn't let that stop him. He saved 10 lives that day, and he was awarded the Silver and Bronze Star. His mother, Deborah, says she knows her son was proud to die honorably at the age of 33 because he could have just as easily died of an overdose behind a building and a trash can years earlier. At the beginning of the hour, I told you there were 3 kinds of people. There were the people that were burying their heads in the sand on 9/10. There were the people that lived in fear on 9/11. And there were the people that we were and we all loved, no matter what the political spectrum where you fell, on 9/12. We promised ourselves we would be those people. Before I even knew his name, Sergeant Patrick Tanish made that choice. And 10 of our best and brightest lived another day because of his answer. I don't know what your choice will be in the future, but I can promise you, if you choose to be a 9/12er, you'll not only change yourself, but you will change, literally, our country. Yesterday was exactly 6 months to 9/12. I'm working on a couple of projects that are going to take me at least 6 months to do. I'd like to ask you to join me again on Saturday, 9/12, Saturday, September 12th. I'll share with you what I've been working on to put the principles and the values to work in my own life, and you show me what you've done. We'll meet back here in 6 months. All right? We'll see you again. We say goodbye and thanks for watching. The show will repeat on Saturday at 9 p.m. Right now, log on to foxnews.com for more. Our webcast continues live from New York. God bless America.
Country. You have to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, where you are, who you're with.
So, Congresswoman, you say it's okay for your mom to go down there?
Well, and my mother is going down there. I was worried for her because I read the newspapers too.
I think that's the most important thing you can say, that if you feel good that your own mother would go, then at least there is some level. A lot of people have described what's going on there as like a self-cleaning oven. This is typical in a drug situation. The drug dealers start taking themselves out, and it pretty soon becomes that if everybody just gets out of their way, they will almost disintegrate because of the violence against each other. But clearly, some Americans could be at risk. Congresswoman, thank you so very much. It's an honor and pleasure to have you here. I appreciate your candor, and I hope your mother has a good trip to Mexico and is very, very safe.
Governor, it's a pleasure, and my husband's family is from Arkansas. I've had a pleasure to be in your great state many times, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, guess what a doctor gets for making health care more affordable for the families of his community? Would you believe that he gets a whole lot of government bureaucracy?
Chop. You're going to be in a great mood all day because you're going to be slapping your troubles away with a slap chop. Now look, here's a potato.
IG, Office Depot, Eastman Kodak, and AMD, all for less
Fox
than $20.
Business is on.
And you're actually
All right.
pretty diversified. You go from technology to car makers to financials to Eastman Kodak to Office Depot. And if all nine of them go out of business, I think the last thing I'm going to be worried about is stock market my money, to be honest with you. So I think you have a chance that a lot of them do come back. Maybe Ford makes it, GM doesn't. So it's just, it was kind of something I started out of fun, to be honest with you, just at first, just to try to show where we've come in this market, that we can buy 9 stocks that we would never think would be this low for $20.
So what's the logic in it, kind of over what time frame, and what do you think maybe something like that would be worth, I don't know, a year from now? Or would you prefer that you talked about it over a longer time?
I would look at it over a longer time frame.
Yeah.
I've looked more probably 3 to 5 years. And you know, I started as fun, but after doing a little bit of research and looking into it, I thought to myself, well, maybe this is something I take 5% of my client's portfolio and actually put it in.
Why is it, as Andrew in Ohio suggested just now, a lotto ticket investment? Is it better than that?
It's better than a lotto ticket investment, absolutely. I played a Powerball and I never even get a number. You know, this, I really believe, even if you take one of the companies that can take, so take 2 of the companies, they double between now and the next 5 years. Even if 3 of them go out of business, you're still going to make money. So I think you're taking a lottery ticket, but you're diversifying it through 9 lottery tickets, really.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I mean, you've even got Matt here. He says, or Paul, he says, I could buy that money, use that money to buy a pizza.
Exactly.
So, I mean, this is the state of mind of people right now, and whether or not they're going to buy into these companies.
It's amazing. And I think, I mean, it is a lotto ticket. However, I mean, this is when wealth is built. Within cars, there's opportunity.
Sure.
I mean, when the stocks are hitting new highs, that's not when your wealth is built. You're chasing performance.
For more viewer questions and answers, just log on to foxbusiness.com live. We are streaming every weekday at noon Eastern time, only on foxbusiness.com.
But Fox on top of a president, on top of, well, everything. And that could be the problem. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and say this about President Obama. He thinks big. Healthcare reform, education reform, earmark reform, a lot of reforms, and that's just this week. The president says he's just laying out a map. But does he risk being all over the map? And worse, the president is the guy behind the wheel, refusing to stop and ask for directions, or even take a look at the fuel gauge to discover the tank's empty. Now, to the folks who can provide some direction, Ben Stein and Dagan McDowell, Adam Lashinsky, Jared Levy joins us now. Also, Charles Payne. Charles, what do you think?
Absolutely. And I tell you, what bothers me a lot is he speaks to us as if we're little children or wayward disciples, and we have to be reminded that there's only one person with the answer. The bottom line is we know that the president can chew gum and walk at the same time, but what he's really doing is he's cramming a social agenda down our throat in the guise of economic recovery or help. All this other stuff does nothing to do. It's all more of the social welfare stuff, and he's using the whole smokescreen of the economy, and because we're smart enough to know that, he becomes offended.
Ben Stein, what do you think?
Well, when I think of this reform, I think it's about the level of sophistication of a Brooklyn ninth grader in 1936. I mean, it is extremely immature, shows very little understanding of history, shows very little understanding of what works in economics. Above all, shows very little respect for liberty and freedom. I am terribly worried about the freedoms he's taking away in the name of global warming. I'm terribly worried about the freedoms he's taking away in the name of reform. This country is about freedom, really, more than about entitlement. I'm afraid that's being lost sight of.
David, my only issues, regardless of your issues with the other reforms he's looking at, it's like he's trying to add a garage onto a house, right? Unaware that the other garage and the rest of the house is on fire. So try to deal with the fire in the house before you're adding to it.
His priority number one should be fixing the economy and fixing the financial mess that we've gotten into, and that's not what we're hearing from the administration. The bar was set very high, too, in terms of him being a communicator, and what we have here is a failure to communicate, to quote Cool Hand Luke. And that's exactly what's going on, and then it gets worse and worse. Like, stocks look like a potentially good deal, and sometimes the economy, things are better than they look, or worse, they're never as good as they look. I mean, what is he talking about? Again, it just muddles, and then you throw in all these other priorities, and I don't know which way is up.
All right, so Adam Lashinsky, regardless of your views again on some of these other initiatives, is he confusing the number one issue, or what should be his number one initiative, fixing things right now?
Well, I don't think so. I'm sort of shocked to hear my sad sack nitpicking friends here this morning. I mean, he has identified the economy as the number one issue. He has put a tremendous amount of energy into it. He has consulted all sorts of people, including his political opposition. I mean, he's brought them in for an academic-style seminar to say, what should we do, kids? Let's figure this out together. And then to compare the lack of freedom in an Obama administration with the previous administration is kind of shocking to me that you would say something like that.
Did anyone do that? Did anyone do it? Jared, let me ask you, do you think that this president is just that, all over the map? He's trying to do everything at the same time, maybe for bigger, grander socialist visions, as some of his critics say, maybe just because he wants to make this a fast, eventful 100 days. But he's confusing folks, is he?
I think the intentions are good. I think he's maybe bit off a little more than he could chew. He's made a lot of promises, and again, I think the intention's there, but here's the issue. He's baking a cake he's never baked before. He doesn't know the ingredients, and I think what's happening is, instead of just trying to bake one cake, he's trying to bake four. And right now, the American cake is not tasting good, and we need to focus on the one cake, get the ingredients right, get American credit flowing again, and get the economic system in place. That's where the focus needs to lie, and I'm afraid that by spreading out like we are, we're losing the main vision. And right now, the American public is scared, and their home values are dropping, their savings are dropping, and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, to pick up on that point, if you start to talk about cap and trade, for instance, we're going to charge American businesses $60 billion to do business, and to say, well, that's a couple years from now, we become afraid. Businesses become afraid. If you say we're going to tax you, we're going to, make it so that it's going to be more difficult for you, businesses become afraid. They take actions now, even if it's supposedly going to start a couple of years from now. They know it's coming, and they know he's promoting it.
Daniel, one of the things, I had the Gulf Oil CEO I had the Gulf Oil CEO on earlier, and one of the things he said, in a very Tony Sopranos moment, was he said, well, if it's going to be inhospitable here for me to expand operations and all of that, then maybe I might and will look elsewhere. What do you think of that?
I think that
Cap?
No, it's possible, and some people are viewing the cap and trade proposal as just one big giant tax on business and tax on individuals. But again, what are your priorities? It's very fine and dandy to lay it all out and say all this is just coming down the road, but we're a nation who really can't handle too many more shocks here. And even though we disagree about this a little bit, those reducing the deductions for higher income Americans on mortgage interest and charitable contributions, that came as a shock to a lot of people and kind of a sneaky backdoor tax increase. You cannot do that kind of stuff when everybody is so shaken. They just want clarity on what you're doing in the now to fix our problem.
Ben Stein, I interrupted you. Go ahead, sir.
That's right. I was going to say cap and trade is a perfect example. Here we have a mammoth tax. It's going to be a tax on every person who drives a car, heats a house, cools a house, heats an office, cools a store. It's going to be a mammoth tax. It is in support of this global warming idea, which we still do not have proof of. It seems to me to be getting colder year by year. There's a lot of data that it is. And I just don't understand why we are taking away money from people in support of a mythological scientific
Well, I'll tell you why we're doing it, Ben, because we're capital, we're charging American businesses $60 billion. We're only taking $15 billion for the so-called clean energy. The rest of the money is going to be redistributed. That's why we're doing it.
And I'll tell you why we're doing it, Charles. I think it's wonderful that we're having this intelligent debate going issue by issue and discussing these topics that the president was elected on. He campaigned and he said, I'm going to address healthcare. I'm going to address energy. I'm going to address the banking system. He's doing every one of those things. He's doing
you're saying
exactly
we're having an intelligent debate. You're saying we're having an intelligent debate. The government's doing something new. It's actually spending on this issue. When it comes to its commitment in green technology and hybrids and all this stuff, lo and behold, we discover that hybrid cells and technology is going downhill fast. There's not much of an appetite for this stuff. So the government has placed its money, its bets on a technology and an industry in a new era, and no one's going to go along for the ride. And that's why I'm saying it's one thing for us to debate this, ad nauseum, as we do week after week. But it's quite another for the government then to put the money on the line and say, well, this is the way we're going. And Jared, that's my fear here, that they're committing monies and amounts and programs to causes that are all over the map and ignoring the one big thing they should.
Listen, I don't know how to fix this. What I do know is we have a lot of addressing going on, but we don't have solutions. It's very easy to regurgitate issues that are going on. Hey, the American public knows what's going on. We've got an idea that we've got problems. What we don't have is an actual procedure, an actual method to solve them, and that's what needs to be put in place before we start addressing these other issues. But
Jerry, I don't think maybe I'm just the simple Italian-American anchor here, but I gotta tell you, if I walk in and I see my house is on fire, like I said, and I have an interior decorator outside saying, you're going to love this couch, Mr. Cavuto. I'm going to say, you know what? I don't need the couch right now. I need water for the house. That's all I'm saying. But we're going to pursue a lot more when we come back. Stocks rallying, banks rebounding, retail sales showing signs of life. So you would think we might want to cool it on this more stimulus talk. 2 words. Think again.
Putting away the checkbook as things start to look up on Wall Street. Should DC drop any plans for more stimulus? We break it all down. Monday, don't miss our powerful primetime lineup, only on Fox Business.
You can't have it.
Attention, if you're on Medicare with diabetes, you may be eligible for an upgraded meter.
Results from testing my blood glucose were often wrong. I have to code my meter.
If you're on Medicare with diabetes, then you need to know about the newest methods in checking your blood glucose. You don't have to code your meter anymore, and you don't have to stab your fingers. These new no-code meters are easier to use and nearly painless.
This new method hurts less, and I don't have to code the test strips anymore.
No coding helps make testing faster and confirms accuracy. And the best news is that Diabetes Care Club will send you one of these new meters.
I called, got my no-code meter, now my fingers don't hurt anymore.
Diabetes Care Club delivers the latest technology directly to your door for free. So call and find out why over 100,000 patients choose Diabetes Care Club.
Honey, you don't have to code anymore. Upgrade your meter and change the way you test now.
This is a FoxBusiness.com money break.
Well, at the heart of the financial crisis, potentially billions worth of toxic assets on the books of some of the nation's banks. One possible solution to this would be the creation of what's called a bad bank to buy up the assets. And this week on FoxBusiness.com Live, Jenna and I spoke with Mike McCarty at Meridian Equity Partners about this idea.
Bad bank equals bad idea. That's his comment, Richard's comment about these bad banks. The talk about the bad banks are still on the table. You think we're going to get a bad bank? Would you like to see that? Since you say that we can maybe value things now.
Right. Well, I've said so. But again, we do have a historical precedent in the RTC where essentially we did something similar with the savings and loans.
But those banks failed, right? I mean, those banks
failed
already
first, right?
failed first, and then the assets were valued.
Right. And again, when they did that, they separated the bad from the good. I don't see why we'd have to take that interim step of actually letting them fail. But I've always liked the idea of a pool of capital, and maybe it's the TARP where they did buy these assets. But my preference is that the government not set the price, but someone like PIMCO participate and let other big private investors come in and participate.
Set the price.
And as a group set the price.
That's interesting.
Well, I think that there's too many temptations for the government to play favoritism and to possibly overprice them, where, say, a distressed investor has every incentive to buy them at the appropriate price, and if you allow them to, do essentially a Dutch auction, where each of them, puts in their bid, and the bid that clears is the clearing price, that's the appropriate method, and then as a taxpayer who essentially will own the toxic debt, then I'm comfortable that it was bought at the right price.
For more viewer questions and answers, log on to foxbusiness.com live. We are streaming every weekday at noon Eastern Time, only on foxbusiness.com.
Well, investors investing again, shoppers shopping again, bankers banking again. All big news this week. So why are some key Democrats talking about stimulus part 2 this week, Charles? It's fairly grand the first one.
I think we need stimulus, but we didn't get stimulus the first time. So I'm not talking about spending on social programs. I'm talking about giving American corporations a break. It was interesting this week when President Obama spoke at the Business Roundtable. He knows how badly American businesses need a corporate tax break. He dangled it out there. But he said, yeah, if you give up the loopholes, I'll give this up. He knows that that's crushing businesses. Instead, he's holding them hostage with it. That is so messed up. But I got to tell you, we need something that's going to spur real activity. That's $16 a month in someone's check or a week. That's not going to do it.
Ben Stein, do you think, given this, some of the economic numbers, way too early to know whether this is a sign of coming out of this or whatever, but should it give pause to more stimulus just to see the stimulus we had and whether it's done the trick?
I don't think we need any more stimulus. We need to fix the banks. We need to end a number of practices which are harming the banks. We need to get the banks up and running, get the lenders up and running. We do not need a tax break for everyone. We don't need more solar panels for schools. We don't need more broadband for rural areas. We need to fix the financial system. He's not doing that. The day that the Dow crashed the worst a few days ago before it started to recover, he was having a party for Ted Kennedy. That was really let them eat cake, fiddling while Rome burns. Very distressing.
They put that stimulus, the politicians put the stimulus package together. Now you got to sit back and wait for it to work. And how do you know that at least the market rally isn't helped along by the fact that the stimulus is in place? That's my central question. But Ben, I think, at least from what I've heard, the people down, a lot of these investors think that the administration is just hoping that the economy comes back and that they don't have to go in and do a big bank rescue, that they can just do it piecemeal and not have to put together this plan, which they still don't have the plan to get rid of the toxic
assets. $50 billion at a time
assets.
ain't piecemeal, though. 50 billion here, 50 billion there, 100 billion there. That ain't piecemeal.
That's
But Jared, I'm wondering if you could flip this around and then say the markets are reading into the slight signs of improvement we've gotten out of Citigroup and Bank of America, saying they're making money, maybe more than they thought they would or could. As a go slow, we don't need to do much more approach. Or, as Dagan suggests, is it possible they're looking for more such stimulus since it seems to be working?
Well, I sit on the Chicago Board of Trade every day. I talk with traders every day. I trade myself. This is something I'm immersed in. And one thing I will say is this. The markets have retraced 51% of their highs. Right now, Americans are looking to buy. I will say this. We need to let the stimulus shake out before you start throwing more money at it. What we just saw right here was just a short covering rally. And in my mind, yes, I believe that we could be on the road to recovery, but this is not something, Americans always do this. Psychologically, the market rises for a couple of days. We forget about what just happened. We forget about the mess that's going on out there, and that's typical. These issues need to shake out, and I think any stimulus needs to be a precision stimulus addressed at the consumer
And at the
Well,
winners
it's a brilliant point, but Adam, real quick, what I'm worried about is the politician I talked to this week, Jerry Nadler, New York, who said, well, this is proof that we need to keep it going. What do you make of that?
You bet, sweetheart.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I'm glad that people like you and Charles and Jared are looking at the daily gyrations of the stock market. I don't think that's the most important thing. It's too confusing. You don't know what signal it's sending on a Tuesday or Thursday.
I'm not talking about just the stock market. I'm
Well,
talking about these average events, the Citigroups, the Bank of America.
And I agree.
The better than expected retail sales, the stronger than expected mortgage application activity.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But go ahead.
And I agree with the premise of your question, Neil, which is this. There's one issue and then there's a bunch of little issues. The only issue that matters is making sure that the banks have enough capital. That's why I was a fan of the TARP to begin with, and I'm a fan of every other little program and big program, to Charles's point, that they do to strengthen the banks. We don't need another stimulus plan right now. We need to make sure that the solid banks are rock solid and that the weak banks go away without harming depositors, and everything else will work out without more stimulus legislation, in my opinion.
All right, well, speaking of stimulus, do you want more stimulus? Then bring on more earmarks. Why some of the folks at Forbes on Fox are saying the pork coming out of D.C. is actually good for America. Don't miss that at the top of the hour. Up next here, deadbeat donors. That's what the head of the UN is calling us. Someone here says, hello.
Survive and thrive. How can you cash in on today's tough economy? Rabbi Daniel Lappin has the 10 tips to help you prosper. Monday, don't miss this special Dave Ramsey show.
Can you imagine getting the right answer every time you have a question? Well, for questions about your Dish Network account, you can. Introducing the new and improved DishNetwork.com, where you can get all the information you need about equipment features, billing details, programming questions, remote control functions, everything. There's even a Dish interactive tech support tool for the fastest way to chat with an agent. Plus, you can sign up to receive Dish Network email updates. It's better than magic. It's the new and improved DishNetwork.com.
Dish Network Pay-Per-View gives you 3 easy ways to order your favorite movies, sports, events, and adult entertainment. It's as simple as pressing a button when you order pay-per-view by remote. If you're on the web, go to dishnetwork.com/PPV and order online. Or call 1-877-DISH-PPV to order by phone. All the latest movies, sports, events, and adult entertainment are right at your fingertips. And with 3 easy ways to order, nothing could be more convenient. Order Dish Network Pay-Per-View today.
Looking to save time and eliminate paperwork? Connect a phone line to your Dish Network receiver. Then, view your statement. Make a secure Dish Network bill payment. Set up credit card auto pay to automatically pay your bill monthly and more. Even upgrade your programming package without picking up the phone. Add Dish HD, Dish Latino, adult programming, premium movie packages, and great interactive games. Connect a phone line to your receiver and check out the new and improved Dish Network customer support on Dish Home Channel 100 today.
The game happens here on NBA League Pass on Dish Network Season Ticket. This season is heating up, and you can still get the most NBA action at a special discount, $99 or 3 payments of $33. Follow your favorite team wherever you live on channels 561 through 572. You can even watch games online with NBA League Pass broadband, which is included in your subscription. Catch the clarity and brilliance of NBA action in HD on select games. Get NBA League Pass. To order, call 1-877-DISH-PPV, 1-877-347-4778.
Okay, one line you will never, ever, ever hear out of me. Try the salad. One line you will hear out of the UN. Try paying your bills. The UN Secretary General calling the U.S. deadbeats for late payments. Mind you, we fund 22% of the United Nations' entire budget, and about 200 paying members, only about 30 are on time with their dues. Think about that, and they call us deadbeats. Charles, what's...
It's mind-boggling. Let's cut this relationship once and for all. Forget about it. Tell them to get the hell out of New York. And while we're at it, we got to stop kissing Russia's butt and Iran's butt while we're at it. You know, this whole thing is ridiculous. What do they do? What have they done? You've got the slaughter going on in Darfur. You've had mass murders around the world, wars, poverty. What do they do except take our money and criticize us? I'm so sick of the rest of the world blaming America. You want $1 billion? You know what? We've already given you $2 trillion. Take $1 billion and get the hell out. That's the answer.
Alrighty. Take it. What do you think of that?
Sort of agree with Charles, but not to the extent that I got so excited. You know, maybe we're late.
Did you have breakfast this morning or not?
Despite the UN's problems, and they're multifold, the UN does do good work. But I think our late payments, maybe there's some method to this madness. Maybe we're telling them, you better listen up.